everyone watched Arthur. Do you remember, I remember this shit so vividly, the scene where, remember Mr. Ratburn had like that rival teacher who was like the Squilliam fancy son to his Squidward tentacles?
Yes.
And he was like, it was from like a fancy school and like all the kids were better than them and stuff like that.
The rich kid private school.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they probably didn't mention that specifically, but that's clearly what they were trying to get at is, they're the rich kid private school. There was one part where Baxter was like, it was like an Olympics. They were doing like a bunch of competitions and stuff. And Baxter was the bunny, right?
Yeah.
He was like the best friend of Arthur. Mm-hmm. He ate a lot of food. So they put him in a pie eating contest against the like one of the kids from the fancy private school. And the kid from the fancy private school was like trained to be a competitive eater and like beat the fuck out of Baxter.
Yeah.
Like Baxter like started wolfing down pies and was like crushing him, and the kid from the fancy private school was like cutting it with a fork and knife and shit. But the kid from the fancy private school had been trained, where he said his secret was, and he like was like the Baxter, oh, you didn't train? Like he ate a bunch of food for like a month leading up to the pie eating contest to like expand his stomach, and then starved himself for a couple of days so that it would be completely empty, and then ate a fuck ton of pie. That's child abuse, right? Like what the fuck, Arthur?
Oh yeah.
That's some cold shit right there.
I also remember from this episode of Arthur, they had like the really smart kid compete in the trivia contest. I think his nickname was Brain. I think his real name, character name might have been Brian or something.
Yeah.
And then, because it was Middle Ages themed or something, if I remember now, he answered a question correctly, but the judge was like, oh no, you gotta answer it like they thought was the correct answer in the Middle Ages. And he just has this expression for a moment that's just, what are we doing here? Why is this a thing? Are you conspiring against us right now? Why would we ever need to know trivia as though we're in the middle? Why do you want us to know the wrong thing right now?
Yeah, I actually do remember that. Yeah, it was something about, was it like heliocentric versus, like Earth-centric model of the solar system or something like that. And he answered it, and then they said, like, no, fuck you, it's got to be medieval. Like, you have to use the knowledge that people would have had in the medieval times. And he was like, what the actual fuck?
These are 10-year-old children. Their entire education system up to this point was teaching them how we think stuff actually works. But in this one instance that we are going to grade these students on, kind of, you need to know the wrong thing here.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, man.
Also, that's a good episode of Arthur. I think the ending of that is that they just lose, but then the lesson is, no, hey, we still have value. Like, even if we're not the best at something, we can still be happy and have fun.
The episode was called The Return of the King, which is amazing that they have a Lord of the Rings episode reference in a children's book. It opens, they go to a medieval fair. Mr. Ratburn sees that Glenbrook Academy's there. Mr. Price Jones, who was Mr. Ratburn's teacher. I didn't remember that wrinkle, that Mr. Price Jones was the sensei. No. That's pretty wild. Arthur notices a sword and a stone, and whoever can pull it out will be the king of the fair, and it doesn't work. He can't pull it out. He's not worthy.
Oh, it's coming back to me now, yeah.
There's got to be they do that where they have like a notch into the sword, and whoever's running the thing can like open the notch whenever they want someone to win or whatever.
No, the trick was you just had to kind of like jiggle it out. Everybody was like trying to tug it out. He was like, what we use a light touch here? You kind of like
don't use all your strength.
Yeah.
What if he thought he figured it out and he thought he was this super smart genius, but meanwhile, the guy at the exhibit was just like, all right, this kid's the one that gets it. Like,
they just have a counter and it's like, all right, we have 14,999 tugs.
Yeah.
After 15,000 tugs, it just comes out.
It's a fucking slot machine, basically.
Guys, it's 4:45 p.m. We got to start winding this down. Just let some kid take the sword. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, he's gonna want, whoever gets it's gonna want like their picture taken and shit. They're probably gonna want to like, I don't know, get some memorabilia. All right, let's just do this now. That way we can start cleaning up early.
Management is not gonna let us do overtime, guys. Like, we gotta go.
Yeah. It says, by the way, they don't go into it with the brain and the trivia thing. It just says throughout the day they lose every single one. Arthur loses in a maze. Francine loses in archery, which Did they build up her character very artificially to be good at archery for that one episode? Or did they just go like, Francine, you're pretty good with a bow and arrow? And she's like, I am. And then it became canon? Like,
I think she was...
I'm curious about that.
She was the athletic tomboy girl, if I recall correctly.
And athletic tomboy girls are definitely skilled with a bow and an arrow?
There might have been some queer coding going on there. Let's not dig too far into it.
Francine lost at the softball game. Or whatever. Yeah, just going real.
Riverdale taught all of us that gay girls shoot bow and arrow like you wouldn't fucking believe.
Is that real? Is that real, Andrew?
Yeah. It is. It is a thing in that dumb show.
Spectacular.
It says Brain fails at a trivia competition, which just seems very brutal, because I do remember that too. And that's exactly how it went down. Brain had it right. And all the other ones, they're like, oh yeah, Arthur loses, Francine loses, even Buster loses at a fighting contest. But then they say, Brain fails. Like, also, a part that I forgot, they overhear the principal was talking to Mr. Price Jones, and they know that Mr. Price Jones is like super strict. So they think that if they lose the competition, that the strict asshole teacher will become their teacher. Like, that's what's going to convince Mr. Haney to fire Mr. Ratburn and hire Mr. Price Jones, that the students that Mr. Ratburn taught lost in a medieval joke competition at a fair. So that's how they raise the stakes in the show, which is actually kind of accurate.
Yeah.
Like, I remember all sorts of shit like that from elementary school where none of it made any logical sense, but like
kids don't understand how the fucking world works.
No,
like
definitely not. And then finally, in the end, they talk about how Arthur ends up pulling the sword in the stone, becomes the king of the fair. Mr. Price Jones congratulates Mr. Ratburn, declaring that he taught Arthur well. It's another man-tooth moment of I just pure hate you, but god damn it, do I respect you, or whatever the fuck.
I like how it's just like, you know what? All of your kids have failed. Mine are superior in every single competition of skill and or knowledge, but that guy, he hit the jackpot on the slot machine. Congratulations,
dude! You
won.
nailed it. You fucking nailed it, man. Mr. Ratburn, like, it's Squilliam fainting at the sight of sweet victory. Like, oh my god, comeuppance. And then it turns out that Mr. Price Jones was not going to replace Mr. Ratburn, but he was going to be tutoring the principal's niece and nephew. Which, he's a full-time teacher at a private school. Why the fuck is he tutoring children on the side? He's got a side hustle for a principal.
I mean, also the disrespect. Can you imagine going to
a rival teacher?
Yeah.
From a different school to tutor your students?
Fuck, I want you to tutor my kids.
You're way better than our teachers. But here's the fucking clincher.
Oh boy.
For this whole goddamn episode, another detail that we forgot. Oh, it's vindication, right? Everything's great. Oh, wow, look, they ended up getting their own little minor moral victory and everything like that. And then Buster says, he probably gave all of his kids homework on the way home. And then Mr. Ratburn heard that and assigned them all homework. So it's like, wow, everything's the same, I guess. I don't know what the moral is. Arthur hears the Barker, who runs the sword in the stone, say that there's a reference to a gentle hand. Mm-hmm. The Barker fucking gave it to him. Like, he literally told him how to do it. Apparently he hadn't told anyone else, because I'm sorry, but that's 1+1 shit. Yeah. Like, he gave the game away. There was no hint that Arthur had to figure out. It was just him saying, dude, stop pulling so hard. And then he did it, and he won. And everyone's like, whoa, Arthur, you're so smart. And it's like, no, he's fucking not. The dude gave it to him.
Context clues.
All the other students, he could have said something. All the other students, he could have made a reference to a gentle hand, and he never did. And then he just gives it to Arthur for no fucking reason. That's some protagonist bias shit. That's some plot armor shit.
Dude, come on. 4:45, man. My improv. We have a set tonight. Like, this could be our break. I got to get out of here, man. Come on. You give it to this kid.
Oh, hey, kid, it requires a gentle hand. First kid still, like, yanking with all his might. hey kid, don't pull it so hard. Next kid, all right kid, so you wiggle it once to the left, twice to the right, and then pull very gently and you can get it out. Like just progressively degrading to like, dude, we got to get out of here.